Welcome to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
I think she just had her dress stained.
Oh, God. Joe Giammatteo.
Yeah, anyone who yaks is all right in my book.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw is War at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on August 17th, 1998. This Raw was recorded at the Iowa Events Center in Des Moines, Iowa, and features Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I am ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. We started this off with an irate, Stone Cold Steve Austin, as if there's any other kind, pounding and beating on a door marked Mr. McMahon. And that brought a big old smile to my face because Mr. McMahon's office is like a scene or set, if you will, where we're going to be getting a lot of good material here in the future. So I like the fact that they're starting to include that in their storytelling. Among other things, JR informed us that we're going to have Sable and Jacqueline in an arm wrestling contest tonight.
How exciting.
Yeah.
As long as they don't talk, that should be pretty good, right?
If
They're
only
not going to talk, are they?
Are they?
Multiple times.
But really, we are starting this with Stone Cold Steve Austin backing a hearse into the arena before hitting the ring to work the corners. Austin called out Vince McMahon, threatening to keep drinking beer until Vince McMahon comes out. But in turns, the Stooges, and then finally, Vince McMahon himself came out to address Austin's concerns. I loved when Austin said to the Stooges, "Why don't you kiss his ass while he's bent over?" whenever they were climbing into the ring. The long and the short of all of this is that Austin is fine to no longer be tied to The Undertaker as tag team champs. He must have been just as sick of cahoots as we are, and that at some point he's going to be shoving a foot up somebody's ass before tossing them in the back of the hearse. It was vague whether it was going to be The Undertaker or Vince McMahon first, or when that might be happening, but commentary was clear in letting us know that there is going to be a confrontation tonight. More importantly, though, we got a dose of Stone Cold attitude to kick off the show here, which is what everybody wants and what will keep viewers tuned in. Ryan, what'd you think of how we started off the evening here?
I thought it was good enough. I enjoyed when Pat Patterson came out instead of McMahon, that Stone Cold called him a sorry excuse for Vince McMahon. That was a nice line from Austin. But one thing I thought was a little bit odd, and I think it further illustrates our point that we've been making for like a month and a half, 2 months now, is the crowd's reaction to Stone Cold when he started talking about kicking The Undertaker's ass, and it was just lukewarm. He wasn't getting that usual explosion that he got because we have two of the biggest baby faces facing off. It's the same problem that they've had building up the last one as they did with this. It's tough for, as a fan, to wrap your head around who you want to cheer for. And that's never really a good thing. But Austin did do what he needs to do there. By the end of it, he's talking about drinking beer and putting feet up people's asses. And by then, he got the crowd behind him. So he eventually did get them to where he needed. But this storyline it's ran its course. And I think everyone is not only bored with it, but also a little confused. But we did learn by the end of this segment that Mr. McMahon is going to be live in the AOL chat room. And we all remember how well that went last time for him. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Joe's news segment next week how that went.
Oh, man. At least he's in character now as Mr. McMahon.
Right.
I'll have to keep an eye out for that, see how that goes. Yeah, Steve Austin, he sounds like Red Foreman from that 70s show. He wants to put his foot up everybody's ass. A couple things I noticed here was Austin backing up that hearse and entering the ring. It was an awkward entrance, but it got me thinking, this is like, we've only seen the Steve Austin pickup truck up to this point, so maybe we're getting closer to Steve Austin driving heavy machinery around the arenas. So
Zambonis.
Yeah, cement trucks and all that stuff. That's pretty exciting. So hopefully that's getting close. But the other thing is, what I liked about this, even though I thought this segment didn't really have much substance to it, what I liked about it is that we're finally getting back to the good stuff, which is Steve Austin threatening to beat the hell out of Vince McMahon when he's done with The Undertaker. So it's like, unfortunately, we're brushing past SummerSlam, but at least we're getting back to Austin and McMahon a little bit more than we have been over the past 5 weeks or so.
Yeah, and it's, to me at least, that's pretty encouraging, because it's like there's a light at the end of the tunnel now. Like, it's confirmed by this that just once we get past SummerSlam, we'll be done with all of this cahoot shit, and we can start in on some new stories, some new angles, and hopefully that'll be a lot more interesting than what they've been giving us. Speaking of things that aren't that interesting, let's go into our first match of the night. Dan Severn defeats Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart by submission in 4 minutes and 40 seconds in a triple threat match. Shamrock looked great coming out for this. His look is everything that an MMA gimmick should be. And then Severn comes out right after him. And, like, I do like the look, and I keep...
Your hero.
I keep thinking of him as like the serial killer, like a Waylon Mercy type. Like, he would do great as that. But for what he is here, he does not hold a fucking candle to Shamrock in any way, shape, or form. Owen came out with the Nation. He jump-started this with Shamrock while officials were kicking out the Nation. Severn just stood there in the corner. By the time that Severn deigned to lay hands on anybody, it was to break a pin, causing Shamrock to look at him like that meme prairie dog from the early internet, that dun-dun-dun prairie dog. Severn ended up waiting until Shamrock was distracted to put on some kind of reverse chokehold. He left that on long enough to cause severe brain damage if it were actually locked in. Steve Blackman came out to try to maintain some order, and he got a chokehold for his trouble. Severn and Owen Hart have apparently joined forces here as they congratulated each other while walking away. The lack of oxygen to the brain seemed to have not affected Shamrock too much, surprise, surprise. It might have even sharpened his judgment, because he started threatening to knock 50 pounds off of Commissioner Slaughter while he was getting his bearings there in the ring, and this was pretty much over at that point. So, guys, it looks like we've got what will probably be a tag match set at SummerSlam. And this has become something that I'm just not that interested in. I liked the dungeon match, the Hart dungeon match that they had, but they need to get Severn out of there. They need to find something solid for Owen to be doing, because he's like flip-flopping now between propping up the Nation and tag team action, and then he's taking part in this story as like 1/3 of what's going on with Steve Blackman circling the outside all the time. Shamrock needs to be solo. He's always been best solo. And as far as Blackman goes, when he isn't circling all of this, he needs to get back into action, or at least put a big fucking piece of cheese on his head. I want to be entertained by Blackman, and this isn't it. So, Ryan, what'd you think of this first match?
Well, the first point I want to make is I believe Blackman is injured right now.
Okay.
I think that's why he's not really getting in the ring much and just doing these run-in segments.
Was it his Brawl for All match that did it?
All I know is that they said a week or two ago he was supposed to be in the Brawl for All, but had to leave because of an injury. So.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
But this match, I guess, is going to be the closest thing we're going to get to Shamrock and Dan Severn actually wrestling each other, because I don't think we're going to get a tag team, only because later in the night, they say that Shamrock and Owen are going to have a Lion's Den match at SummerSlam. So no tag team there. And it looked like we might actually get action between Shamrock and Dan Severn, but then Dan Severn just fucking stood in the corner like a fucking worthless piece of shit. Just when I thought Dan couldn't get any more useless, he just fucking stands there. Shamrock and Owen, they were fine. I always love Shamrock's suplex. His belly-to-belly suplex, it just looks vicious, and it looked great here. Severn does put Shamrock in a chokehold. That's the most action we're going to get out of those two. And then it just ends. I don't have anything else to say other than Dan Severn just sucks. His character sucks. His look sucks. His ring work sucks. His promos suck. And now he's not even really a tough guy. He just stands in the corner like a fucking pud. Just fucking terrible. Get him the fuck off our screens.
Yeah, a few things I disliked as well. Number one, Dan Severn, as I have that marked down.
Right. Highlighted in bold.
Yeah, two is similar to what you said, Bartlett, with Owen Hart flip-flopping here, and he's in the nation, so he's feuding with DX, or he was, and now he's in this mix with Shamrock and Severn, and now Blackman. So that's another thing I didn't like about this, was the friendship route that they're going with all of this. But the Owen Hart thing, I just don't understand why he's part of this between these three guys. I'm guessing maybe Ken Shamrock just had I know he was close with the Harts, so maybe he just wanted to work with Owen and they just threw Owen in there. Like, I would love to know how this was actually booked and why Owen is a part of it. But one thing I did enjoy about this was this whole angle of Ken Shamrock going to sleep from a chokehold and then regaining consciousness and just immediately roid raging. I did enjoy that. But outside of that, there was really nothing that was very good about this.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't good. And this is something that could have been good. It started off good. Like I said, that the Hart Dungeon match, that was interesting for what it was. But yeah, the Owen thing is probably the thing that bothers me the most, because you have the opportunity here to really get Owen into something that is a really solid angle if it's just him and Shamrock. But he's dragging the nugget chain around his ankle because of the bullshit with DX, and no in-ring storytelling between Owen and Shamrock is going to be taken seriously because it's going to be constantly getting shit on by people yelling nugget at him. Anyway, yeah, that's one of the main reasons I don't care for the whole nugget thing, because it just invalidates anything he does after this. Yes, it's a good way to get heat on a heel, but it's hard to take him seriously now. All right, speaking of things that shouldn't be taken seriously, let's go into our next match.
Bro, this is a brawl for all. This is a shoot, not wrestling. Bro, it's boom, 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 boom. Bro, just look at it logically. Does it make any sense?
It's a whole lot of booms.
11.
Well, they went boom in this one.
Bart Gunn defeats the Godfather by knockout in the third round of a Brawl for All match. Oh boy, this, right at the start, this turned into a phone call match with what was obviously Bruce Pritchard pretending to be President Bill Clinton.
What? You mean that wasn't Bill?
Yeah.
Bill Clinton wanted a piece of the Godfather's hose, of course. And that didn't last long, but there was a threat that it might happen again through the night, and spoiler alert, it does. They've also apparently been adding some story to the Brawl for All for something that was supposed to be just nothing but straight shoot fighting. There's angles to this now. The Godfather tried hurting Bart Gunn's shoulder on Sunday Night Heat last night. At one point in the second round, Bart Gunn was just drilling the Godfather in the face with straight left hands. Me and JR both were pretty surprised that the Godfather stood through all but the very last one. He went down just as the time was running out, and then Bart dropped the Godfather with a surprise right just after the start of the third round. We got the news that the finals are going to be next week on Raw, which answered for us the question of whether or not this bullshit is something we're going to be asked to pay for at SummerSlam. Or not. That's a good thing. So I'm just glad we're close to being done with this, and I just wish this weren't the slow ticking away of Bart Gunn's career. I've always thought Bart was a great worker. Back in the Smoking Guns days, I'm on record as saying that Bart was the better worker between him and Billy Gunn, and as a tag team, I thought they were great. It's a shame they couldn't move through into the modern age, that they were stuck with the cowboy gimmick, but with Bart, I don't like that he lost so much out of this because he was able to knock people the fuck out. It's tragic. I think Bart Gunn deserved much better than what he got out of all of this. Joe, what'd you have on this match here?
Well, first off, I popped hard for the fake Bill Clinton on the phone. I loved it. Because Bill Clinton he's a fucking disgusting pervert. They cashed in on that here. They're really
all night.
Yeah. So I love it. And the Godfather saying that he's going to kick Bart Gunn's ass and not offer the hose. So that was a mistake. My goodness. Godfather's probably wishing that he offered the hose after what happened here. No matter how hard they screwed over Bart Gunn here, this does not damage Bart Gunn's reputation or legacy as far as I'm concerned, because Bart Gunn is a fucking straight badass for doing what he did in this thing. Because there's also a story, I think, something along the lines of, I guess when they were saying that Dr. Death Steve Williams was going to be in the Brawl for All, I guess Bart Gunn actually said to JR or Bruce Pritchard or one of those guys, like, I don't know if you want to do that because I might knock him out. Huh. And that's exactly what happened. In this particular match against the Godfather's got like 60 pounds on Bart Gunn. And Bart Gunn spits out his mouthpiece, takes a beating in the corner, and then just crumbles the Godfather.
Yeah.
What a missed opportunity to actually book Bart Gunn in a good way instead of just completely fucking him over later on. But Bart Gunn is and always will be a badass as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and that is the biggest shame of it all here, because Bart Gunn came into this tournament and just started knocking people the fuck out. Like, pretty much everyone he's been in the ring there with, he leaves them on the ground. And here's someone, with Dr. Death too, someone who he was giving up a lot of weight to. And the Godfather just got the shit kicked out of him here. I'll give the Godfather some props that he did take a beating without going down, but ultimately he got knocked the fuck out and collapsed to the ground from a powerful right hook right to the jaw. It was just right to the kisser, and he was down and out. Like, there was no him attempting to get up. It was like a video game. He was just out. Good thing for the Godfather, when he got knocked out, he didn't blow out every single muscle in his body like Dr. Death. So he's going to be able to continue. But the fact that Bart Gunn has his career really put to bed because of him being a legitimate badass is one of the greatest tragedies of the Attitude Era. It's just a real shame.
Yeah, and he's on borrowed time now, unfortunately. The clock's ticking on old Bart, and we'll see how much longer he lasts here. Not too much longer, though. So everybody was waiting backstage for the appearance of Mr. Sweatpants, or at least I should say they were paying attention to backstage for the appearance of Mr. Sweatpants. We got a view of a door that hopefully the Undertaker is going to choose to enter the building through. That was interrupted, though, by Shamrock and Blackman just randomly showing up and trashing the place. Speaking of random, we got a view of a guy named Gangrel standing in the shadows. It looked like he had fangs. This made me wonder if they've done any kind of lead up to his debut, or if we're just randomly getting a fucking vampire thrown at us here. We will get a little more information on that here in a minute, but then Michael Cole was there to let us know that he's going to be talking to Shamrock and Blackman after the next match. I started salivating at that idea. Just real quick here, guys. We've got this hint of Gangrel, but the bigger question I have is if we want to lay some money down on if Michael Cole is going to be getting injured talking to Shamrock. Joe, what'd you think?
I didn't feel like he would, because we just got spoiled last week and he got tabletopped a couple of times. So
yeah,
all around bullied.
I went into this thinking, no, Michael Cole's going to be safe.
Okay.
I was thinking the same, even though I was hoping Shamrock might have a legitimate roid rage and just rip Michael Cole to shreds, but I have a feeling that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I was the 18%er once again. I was too naive, too innocent, too hopeful.
You were on too much of a high from last week.
Yeah. I see Michael Cole and I automatically think, well, this guy's going down somehow.
This guy's going to end up on his ass.
Yeah, exactly. Just look at him, for God's sakes.
Fucking pencil neck geek.
All right, well, we're not going to find out the answer to that until we get to the other end of our next match. Gangrel defeats Brian Christopher with Scott Taylor by pinfall in 1 minute and 3 seconds.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we've got another name on the list of supernatural entities that have decided that wrestling on television is the only way to fulfill their deepest drives and desires. I don't know if this will somehow make Gangrel immune to sunlight if he wins the championship. He can hide underneath it. use it as like a parasol, maybe. I don't know. But we did get the word here that Gangrel debuted on Sunday Night Heat last night. So he did get a proper debut, I guess, although we did not get the bizarre lead up to his debut, as far as I'm aware. JR did let us know that the red liquid that Gangrel consumes somehow empowers Gangrel. By the way, Edge, he's out there in the crowd. He was blocking the view of some paying customers there, and I can only imagine that Edge was curious about whether he could actually break the neck of a vampire who is undead and have it have any kind of effect. It's a legitimate question. And then the match, it was over with this high impact DDT. That move that Gangrel uses as a finisher. It's not named here. Yeah, this is something that I'm really curious to see. I remember back in the day not really getting the whole story with Gangrel and Edge and Christian before they joined the Ministry. The Ministry is when they started making more sense to me. So I'm just wondering now if, in hindsight, looking back on this, if this build-up is going to make more sense, because now I'm more mature. I'm more able to handle vampires and worked blood gimmicks. Ryan, what'd you think of Gangrel's debut for us here?
I have to say, I loved this debut. Yeah, he looks ridiculous at first, but the entrance is badass. The way he comes up through the floor and the flames, that's cool as hell. And his entrance music, it's fucking great. Like, that is a head-banging entrance music that he's got. It's catchy as hell. And I didn't remember at all how he actually worked in the ring, but I thought he worked pretty good. He had a lot of power impact moves and pulled them all off. They looked good for the little bit that we got to see him. So I thought all around this was a successful Raw debut for Gangrel, and I'm excited going forward just to see how everything starts from the beginning. Because like you, I remember the whole Brood thing, and of course when they joined the Ministry, but I don't remember at all about the build-up. So I'm pumped to watch it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I was popping hard when I saw this. A weird character, though, to not have any build-up, like you mentioned, Bartlett. Yeah, he just got thrown on a Sunday Night Heat, and here he is. Remember the build-up for Edge? It was like weeks and weeks and weeks. You'd think they would do something like that with a vampire gimmick with Gangrel, but they didn't. And the other thing that I remember from reading The Observer from years ago was that Gangrel, I think his name's David Heath is his name.
Yes.
He presented this gimmick to the WWF like years ago, and I guess they didn't want to do it. So here he is years later doing this gimmick, so good for him. And I agree, Ryan, the music is perfect. The entrance is great. It's only going to get better, too, especially when they become the Brood. And Edge lurking in the stands makes sense now, and I wonder if that's what they've had planned for him all these weeks. I would assume that's what they've been doing. That's why we've seen Edge just randomly in the crowd. I think they're building up to this storyline with Gangrel, so we'll see what happens. Brian Christopher getting squashed is a little strange to me, but it is what it is. And that DDT that he does looks dangerous as fuck. I'll be surprised. I won't be surprised if he changes that move up a little bit. So we'll see what happens there too.
Yeah.
Quick question. If my memory serves me correct, Gangrel in real life is dating Luna right now, right?
They're married, yeah.
Or married, yeah. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yep. They got married on Halloween.
That's right.
A few years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I was too busy being snarky in my little breakdown there to mention it, but yeah, his work in this was fantastic, and that's something that I totally forgot about. I get wrapped up in the whole vampire bullshit, but he was a hell of a worker in this.
Yeah.
The vampire thing, like, it's weird because this should not have worked. And it should also not hold up as well as it does, but it does.
Yeah, especially because they were entering that more realistic attitude era. You would have thought that this would have just fell flat on its face, but he made it work.
Yeah, this is definitely, other than Kane, even though Kane is part of the Undertaker storyline, this is like the closest thing they're getting to the Undertaker that's not the Undertaker.
And Gangrel is in good shape here, too. I know that changes somewhat soon. I'll never forget Bob Holly calling Gangrel he called him a fat tub of lard or something in the ring one time. But the thing that I always really come back to with Gangrel is the fangs, because those are permanent. He lived the gimmick, and those are up in there. And I cannot imagine. I'm cringing just thinking about like taking a hit to the head with those fangs in there, and like, I don't know, biting your lip, or God forbid, having one like break your tooth off, or God. If I were a wrestler, I do not think that I would want to add any more teeth to my head. All right, so backstage, let's find out. Michael Cole was staring into the eyes of an ass-kicking at the hands of a roided-out freak. That did not happen, though. Apparently, Dan Severn is going to be training Owen Hart for this Lion's Den match that just got brought up tonight. And although Michael Cole did come close to getting his ass kicked, he got out of the way in time. Shamrock and Blackman ended up going back to just trashing the place. And we got confirmation that we are going to get more of fake Bill Clinton. We even got a little picture of Monica Lewinsky up there on the screen. And I love the fact that in hindsight, we're able to look back and say, well, Bill Clinton never shit on anyone's head and then got sued for human trafficking. Also, cameras, they're still monitoring the doors that the Undertaker is anticipated to be entering through. Once we checked in there, Michael Cole was back, this time to interview DeGeneration-X about their upcoming street fight match against the Nation. And I thought, this is it. This is prime. It's DX, for God's sakes. Tabletop him. But before the interview could even start, the Nation showed up to start a brawl. That could conceivably be called a street fight there, but it got broken up and the segment ended. So before we move on to this next match, Ryan, do you have anything you wanted to throw out there about this mid-match segment?
Not a whole lot. Not too much happened, especially to Michael Cole, unfortunately. But Shamrock does still suck on the mic. So we established that.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. I just had noted that the Shamrock is basically just steroid shouting into the microphone, and that's it.
All right. So, God, let's go into our next match. The DOA defeats Farouk and Scorpio by pinfall in 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Scorpio and Farouk, they got the true jobber treatment. They are here to lose, they got no entrances, and this match started off with a phone call from fake Bill Clinton, who, yes, will be back to join us again later on. Look at what they've done to my boy. I did take this time, however, to learn how my automatic litter box functions so that I can service and maintain it in the future. This match also got preempted by the brawl between the Nation and DX, and that's all I've got. Joe, what'd you have?
Well, not much. Of course, I'm excited about the fake Bill Clinton call again. I thought that was fantastic. This is another one of these stupid, illegal twin wins for DOA that nobody cares about. So I really don't have anything on this. I hate the DOA. Like, why not, instead of Gangrel squashing Brian Christopher, have him squash one of these jabronis?
Yeah.
Or just make that last match longer and just skip this one.
Yeah.
I only have two comments, and that is poor Scorpio and poor Farouk.
Yep, RIP for them at the moment. Well, really, for Scorpio for the long haul, but all right, let's get away from that. Once again, we got another view of those doors that the Undertaker may or may not enter at some point in the evening. Just keep those held in your mind. That took us into something that was already in progress, our next match. The Nation defeats DeGeneration-X with China. Not really with China. She was not at ringside for this. By pinfall in 6 minutes and 40 seconds in a 6-man tag team street fight match. Really don't know what to say about this. As far as the scene in the ring goes, it had all kinds of implements that we would associate with what we would call hardcore wrestling here in a couple months. There's a ladder there, some cookie sheets, trash can lids. Double J Jeff Jarrett and Southern Justice showed up for some fucking reason, getting into the mix. X-Pac, Jarrett had a hard-on for going after X-Pac. X-Pac ended up getting some of his hair cut off for still unknown reasons. And then finally, somehow putting Triple H under a ladder is what caused the win condition here, because that's where the match ended. Everybody just walked away with no bell, no pinfall, that I saw, things just stopped. And that's it. I wish I had more notes on this. The action was what you would consider like a typical hardcore match. People were just beating each other over the heads with implements all throughout. It wasn't terrible. But the problem here is that none of this really made any sense. This was mostly just violence for the sake of violence, and that's fine, but it really came off as a cheap way to kick off the second hour of Raw with the most extreme shit possible to keep the viewers tuned in. There was little to no story going on aside from what we've built up in the past weeks and months between DX and the Nation, but there's nothing that immediately precipitated this as far as I'm aware. And that's it. Again, it just didn't make sense. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
I completely agree that it didn't really make sense. Out of the start, we learned that it's going to be a 3-on-4 because the Godfather got knocked the fuck out. So I'm assuming that the medic said, you have a concussion, you probably shouldn't be in another match tonight.
They were working on him backstage.
Yeah, working on him, exactly. But, huge star power here. We got a lot of fan favorites, a lot of people, but by the time Jeff Jarrett and Southern Justice show up, it turns into just a complete clusterfuck. And it just didn't make any sense to me. Why are we getting Double J and Southern Justice out here ending in a schmoz like they were? When are they trying to lead to like a 3-way faction match, which would be terrible? Like if that's what we're going to get at SummerSlam, a 3-on-3-on-3, that isn't what I want out of DX and the Nation. I want to see them doing different things, and it's probably time for them to get into programs with a different faction as well, because this one's really been dragging. So the stuff at the end with The Rock and the ladder, it was at least somewhat entertaining, but it just didn't make sense. Like you said, I was just scratching my head at the end of this.
Yeah, this was a sloppy mess. I didn't like it. I think biggest thing I don't like here is the fact that it's just gang warfare bullshit. Because the big story here is Triple H versus The Rock. Like, The Rock is the Intercontinental Champion, and he's going to face Triple H at SummerSlam, a big pay-per-view, but it's just gang warfare. There's no focus on The Rock and Triple H as the leaders of these factions that are going to be having a match at a huge pay-per-view in 2 weeks.
And the whole ladder thing, is that because they're going to have a ladder match, or was that something, Joe, you read in the Observer?
That's something I read, but maybe this is the lead up to that.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, but I just hate that everybody's involved equally in this. There's no focus on...
Yeah, exactly. Nothing to focus on.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck is Double J and Southern Justice there for, too?
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah, by the time they came out, I just threw my hands up when they came out. I was like, all right, this is stupid.
So when that did happen, my first thought was like, oh, did they plan? Like, was that planned, or was that maybe Double J and Southern Justice just trying to get some screen time in and just running out for the sake of running out? Like, improvising a little bit.
Everybody that paid for a ticket paid to see Southern Justice, too.
Yeah.
But then I noticed whenever Double J was holding down X-Pac to cut his hair, X-Pac had like a section of hair held aside with a hair tie for Double J to trim off. Like at the back of his head, at the base of his neck, where it wouldn't be noticed if he was missing some hair. As soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is just total bullshit that I'm not going to be interested in.
This next segment, though, you gotta love.
We got treated next to Tiger Ali Singh coming down to the ring to piss everybody off. Tiger gave us a video of his servant Abu working out. He was really working up a huge sweat with no time to wash or bathe himself. And the punchline here was that Tiger was going to pay out $500 to anyone willing to come into the ring and lick Abu's dirty, sweaty feet. And I was mostly on board with this up until this point because it became very reminiscent of the Kiss My Foot match.
Ptomaine poisoning.
Ptomaine poison.
Abu very dramatically removed his sock, and his foot was dressed with what looked like oatmeal and some kind of glue to
That's what I was
appear to be.
Say. It's just oatmeal. It's not that disgusting.
It appeared to be scaly and nasty, and the kid that had volunteered, he got his money, and then we got the hell away from
deep-throated that too.
I would much rather have the enormous women coming down to strip in the ring than
any day
the foot stuff. So after we got away from that, we got back to a view of that set of doors, but this time, one of them was open, and it revealed yet another door behind those. So now we are experiencing some kind of bizarre nesting doll of entrances that Mr. Sweatpants may or may not enter through. The drama is really building at this lone camera trained on these doors. We may have to check in with it 6, 7, 8 more times throughout the evening.
Inception of doors.
Yes, they're layered. It just keeps on getting more and more complex, this single shot of doors. But after that, we went from remarkably complex to shallow as hell with a strategic upshirt view of Sable.
She's hot.
He was doing full body stretches for an arm wrestling match. And footage from Heat last night where Jackie was giving a fucking terribly delivered challenge to Sable involving insults to perfume quality and eventually the challenge to arm wrestling because naturally one follows the other.
How?
Yeah, I have to reiterate just how fucking horrible the whole thing was delivered. I can't believe they replayed that much of it once again. This is like the second time now that they've replayed way too much of somebody speaking horribly. But anyway, we'll just pause it here because my research did list that that's going to be an actual match. And it's going to be its own segment then. So, Joe, please, do you have anything you'd like to add about Tiger Ali Singh or the really stupid setup for the arm wrestling match?
Yeah, your other hero here, Tiger Ali Singh. I don't remember this gimmick at all. Surprisingly, I don't remember it. Showing how Americans will stoop to anything for money. It's actually, like, I actually do not hate this. And this would probably still... It would still get over to this day. Like if they were doing something like this now, I think it would get a lot of heat and would be really, really good.
Yeah, it has so much built-in heat to it.
Yeah. This guy just had a little oatmeal snack. It wasn't that disgusting. And he got $500.
Some granola.
But unfortunately, he's going to get ptomaine poison. And Jackie and Sable exchanging words again on Sunday Night Heat is never good. It's just show us more clips of Sable stretching without talking. That's fine. But this exchange of words has to stop.
Tiger Ali Singh, I agree with you that the heat does work. The crowd definitely was not happy with him. And I guess they were successful in what they were going for. This was disgusting. You had the oatmeal foot of Abu, whatever the hell his name is, or whatever JR said. That all worked. And the King did a great job of just being completely disgusted. Just acting like he was gagging, like he was back when he got his own foot stuck in his mouth. I don't know if we're going to have Isaac Yankem come out and help this poor little boy, but overall, I thought it worked. So way to go, Tiger Ali Singh. Why they showed us, though, this robotic bickering between Sable and Jackie from Sunday Night Heat, just let it die. We should just leave it on Heat with the 3 people that watch that. We don't need to replay it for the larger audience here. Big miss there.
Yeah, I can't emphasize enough how horrible it is being subjected to that. Really, it's fucking torture.
For both of them, it was just piss poor.
Oh, yeah.
Just the insults are always terrible too. Like now wrestling is overly scripted, where back then it wasn't really scripted. It was more just like bullet points is what they always say. But these girls needed a full script to get through these.
They needed
these segments.
Voiceover actors.
Yeah.
Just better insults would make it not so bad, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And then you have, like, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks ago where Sable joined commentary and actually sounded like a human being for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Maybe just keep them in situations like that where they can just respond naturally instead of having them do this shit because it's stark. It's starkly depressing at how just horrible it is. All right, let's get through this shit. Our next match. Sable versus Jacqueline in an arm wrestling contest ends in a no contest. The only entertaining part of this was Earl Hebner jumping around with his arms straight up in the air to make it seem like something worthwhile was happening. I loved that. I thought that was hilarious because they kept going back and forth with this stupid tug of war. Anybody who's ever seen a fucking arm wrestling match knows that that's not how it works. That's not how it goes. People generally stay locked in the center until somebody starts to fade, generally.
Especially when one of them's arms and shoulders are twice the size of the other ones.
Yes. The no contest came about when Jackie flipped the table on Sable before taking that enormous trophy that Sable gave Luna last week and then broke it over Sable. The Oddities and Luna came out to defend Sable. I hated every second of that. Really, I hated every second of all of this, except for Luna screaming and crying like Nancy Kerrigan. Somebody get her out of here! Somebody save her! And that's it. Joe, what'd you have on this?
It's bad. It's not good. Sable carrying the huge trophy pissed me off because now it's no longer funny. I thought it was funny when Jackie was carrying it, but they ruined it. But then we find out that it was gimmicked anyway, so it's now destroyed. I guess that's okay, but I will never understand the complete inability to talk with Sable. Like, this person is like one of the hottest people on TV right now as far as popularity, and like just has a complete inability to talk after getting all of this practice on TV.
A charisma black hole.
Unbelievable to me.
This whole arm wrestling thing sucked from the get-go. The moment they came down with Sable carrying this fake trophy that was made out of styrofoam, then it ends with the Oddities coming in and saving her. And the biggest head scratcher is Luna, like bawling like a baby over Sable being injured. They were mortal enemies a few months ago. And now Luna is ready to off herself over the fact that Sable was injured.
Well, we pretend it never happened.
That's right.
None of this really worked for me, brother.
Don't you remember JR saying that they buried the hatchet once or twice 2 weeks ago?
Oh, that's right. And now they're best friends ever.
Yeah, that's enough to just completely clear the slate. Yeah, and I completely agree, Joe. Like, you would think that they would, first of all, maybe they're just tit blind. I don't know. That has to be part of it at least. But you would think that given the resources that they have and the push that they're giving her, like, get her a fucking acting coach.
Yeah.
Something. Hire like a fucking film student, something.
All of the public speaking experience that she's getting on TV every week, along with the 360 days a week, brother, on the road. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? I don't get it.
Send her to a fucking public speaking class, something.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get away from that. Let's go backstage to Michael Cole. He was there talking to Val Venus, and given Val's occupation and the recent history that Val has, this had the potential of going real bad for Michael Cole, but it didn't. Val's going to be in a gauntlet match tonight against Kaientai. If he survives through the gauntlet, he'll get 5 minutes alone with alone in the ring with Mr. Yamaguchi-san. That was followed by another installment of Draws' World. God, we had this, 2 weeks ago, this MTV Cribs knockoff. I especially liked how they highlighted the little tattoo of Odie from Garfield that he had. It was the Garfield comics. In this tattoo, Odie has a gun stuck in his mouth with the trigger pulled and blood and brains flying out the back of his head. Yeah, so this was it was a real quick segment. Ryan, do you have anything you wanted to add on there?
No, not much. My favorite part of it was the line from Joe at the beginning saying, anyone that yaks is okay in my book.
He's gotta puke! He's gotta puke!
Who was that, by the way?
I don't know.
Was that one of the random guy?
Was that one of the two? What were they? Viewers that won the award?
I don't know.
Sam and Andy or whatever the fuck their name was.
I don't know.
Paul and Simon or...
Yeah.
I have no clue who that was. It just looked like it was some random fan.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they were.
Was like a cameraman or something like that they just roped into it.
A cable puller.
Yeah.
One that Kane didn't kill.
Yeah. Okay. So that whole thing with Draws was, I guess, a really ham-fisted setup for our next match.
Hey, watch it. That's my career.
Love that sound. So, yeah, my first notes was that I'm glad that the Brawl for All is almost over, and that's it. This was a shit show. Ryan, did you want to add anything to it?
No. This, unlike the one earlier tonight, there was no knockout. This was just boring.
Yeah. JR reminds us again that Draws was a Maryland Terrapin at one point.
Of course.
Highlighting that college football career. And I think it's appropriate that they're going to have the final Brawl for All match in Philadelphia next week.
Throw some batteries at people.
Yeah.
All right, so after that, we got some footage of Al Snow next. He was there drinking in a bar with Head. It was some shenanigans and hijinks with Head there ensued. Apparently, Al is coming back after dipping out to ECW for a while. So he's in full Job Squad mode here, which is good. That's the better way to have Al Snow as part of the Job Squad and along with Head. We'll get some good stories out of him later on. And we got another view of the door within a door, but this time it showed two doors on the other side of the first set of doors, and a camera had apparently been knocked over. It was laying on its side there. We also got a view of Sable. She was angry and heading out to the arena, but before that came to fruition, we got another video of Dustin Runnels advising us to read the Bible rather than watch the next segment. And that next segment was Sable screeching in the ring about Jackie being a bitch, and a what I thought was a pre-recorded video of Jackie up on the Titantron giving a really lame-ass response, as she is wont to do in all of this. Jackie did look fucking amazing here, though. She was smoking hot in this segment. She issued a challenge for, I guess, what's going to be an intergender match against Mero and Jacqueline at SummerSlam, with Sable's partner to be determined. The last bit of them standing there giving this challenge was capped off with Luna and the Oddities attacking Jackie and Mero there in the locker room. After that, we switched to Michael Cole. He was outside the locker room of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And again, I got very excited because this is prime territory. Maybe we'll get the swirly this time. Michael Cole was saying that The Undertaker had indeed arrived, which we never saw. I'm so glad we had that fucking camera set up on doors within doors within doors to catch the entrance of Mr. Sweatpants that we never got to fucking see.
That's why it was knocked over.
Well, I got that, but like you would think that we would see like footage of a hand coming at the camera or something. But we got nothing for all of the build-up. And that's it. Joe, we had some rapid-fire mini updates here. We had Al Snow, Sable, Jackie, The Undertaker in the building. What'd you think of it all?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Al Snow. With him in the bar with Head, I thought it was just like so fucking stupid, but also mildly funny. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst Al Snow segment that I've seen. And Dustin Runnels, I don't know where they're going with that. Clearly, it looks like it's going to be a swerve of some sort, that he's not actually this born-again Christian, that he's going to go back to Goldust here soon. So hopefully sooner rather than later, he will go back to Goldust. And Sable and Jackie, just more terrible work on the microphones. And it's going to be Sable and somebody versus Jackie and Mark Mero at SummerSlam. I remember who the partner is, and I don't know if it makes sense. And I guess we'll find out why this person became her partner. So I am looking forward to reliving that.
Al Snow in the bar with Head, it was fine. The part I enjoyed the most was Al calling himself the chief of the Job Squad. That was good. Other than that, I don't hate Al Snow like Joe does, so I guess I'm somewhat interested to see where they're going to go with it. Dustin Reynolds, he's doing his Bible talk here again, but I think there were a few things that showed their hand here with the comeback of Goldust. One, this time he said he is coming back.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit different talk. And the second thing is he had on a golden shirt this time. So I think they're giving us little hints that Goldust is coming back. So I'm pumped about that. I was not pumped to hear Sable's music and her calling out Jackie. And Bartlett, I think he hit the nail on the head that this was pre-recorded out of Jackie, because the video started before Sable even finished. It came up too early. Like, she wouldn't even have had time to respond. Like, she barely got out the words, and Jackie was there to respond. So it was definitely pre-recorded, but something that we really didn't need.
Yeah. All right, so let's go then into our final match of the night. Kaientai, that's Men's Teo, Sho Funaki, Dick to Go, and Taka Michinoku defeats Val Venus in 7 minutes and 46 seconds in a 4-on-1 handicapped gauntlet match. So just as that name implies, this was going to be one at a time. Kaientai stood at the top of the ramp with Commissioner Slaughter there to admit one person at a time to go down and take on Val Venus, and this started with Men's Teo. And once the action got going, the crowd was silent. I can't even begin to tell you how disinterested the crowd was here. Yeah. After the first pinfall, Sho Funaki was next. He only lasted a second there. Dick to Go came in next, just as President Bill Clinton got back on the phone. And then finally, light heavyweight champion Taka Michinoku came in at the end, and he ended up winning with the Michinoku driver. JR was trying to make something out of the fact that Val had just wrestled 3 people before Taka got in there, but JR also neglected to include that each encounter lasted all of 2 seconds against people that were half Val's size on average. Michinoku, he reminded me of why he is so easy to forget. He made sure to get all of his shit in, and that's when things just began to fizzle out. I was having flashbacks to the Taka-Brian Christopher feud, because you could have swapped out Brian Christopher and Val Venus and it would have looked like the exact same match. The people there in Gold Circle seating were sitting there in their chairs with their arms crossed for the entirety of the match. And after Taka won with the driver, Mr. and Mrs. Yamaguchi-san came down so that the missus could slap Val Venus as if that was some kind of important moment. And before everybody got out of the ring, Val ended up pulling out the purple cannon that he brought down to the ring and sprayed everyone with some kind of cloudy white fluid out of it. Joe, I fucking hated this. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it looked like that super soaker was full of baby oil, I think, which was lame. But more fake Bill Clinton on the phone is all. I'm always going to like that, so that was nice. And Taka looks so much better in this gear that he has in Kaientai with just the jean shorts, the t-shirt. It's so much better looking than his babyface wrestling gear, but it doesn't necessarily make him look like a heel because he's a literal babyface.
Yeah.
So it's weird to have him in this heel role right now. And like you said, Bartlett, he's still getting all of his shit in. He's still working the same. When you do a heel turn, you have to work like a heel. You have to work a little bit differently. And he's not doing that, obviously. But he does look better in general, I think. And I thought that this match wasn't great, but I thought this was well booked for a mid-card angle that they're doing. Because even though Kaientai has like no heat right now with the crowds, there's no way that they should have lost this match, and they didn't. So that I thought that was a good thing.
I, for the most part, enjoyed the Val Yamaguchi-san storyline, but it's run its course at this point. And I think, as you pointed out, Bartlett, the crowd just isn't invested anymore. And it didn't matter how many people Val was wrestling against here. They just were sitting on their hands, and nobody cared. He got through the first 3 people pretty easily. Taka comes in, and I don't know if you guys remember, but Taka is the light heavyweight champ.
Oh.
You don't say.
Huh.
And another thing I bet you guys would have never guessed is that Taka would do a crossbody to the outside from the top rope.
No shit.
And that's something we've never seen that before. That's fucking
Anything
amazing.
can happen.
The only sad thing here is that Taka and Kaientai, who nobody gives 2 flying fucks about, are who end Val Venus's undefeated streak.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, at the end, we get all sorts of Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky dress talk and white liquid stain and blah, blah, blah. it was okay, but it wasn't great by any means.
I have some bad news for you guys, too, that I read in The Observer. John Bobbitt is no longer going to appear on WWF TV, so it was a one-time thing.
Was it because of his promo?
I don't know, but I'm sad.
And he's gone. Flash in the pan.
Just like the first 12 inches of his penis.
God. All right, so after we got done with Val and the pink cannon, we got reminded of what Austin had said to kick off the show earlier tonight, and that was just as the bell tolled and the lights went out for The Undertaker to make his way down to the ring. We did not actually see him coming down to the ring. The Undertaker somehow teleported down there. And just as he was shown standing on the corner post there, or at the corner post, I should say, Austin showed up. And JR made sure to emphasize that this was not a match, it's a confrontation. But The Undertaker had been hiding his face under his hair the way that he was standing. And as Austin got in the ring, he flipped his hair back, and The Undertaker was wearing Kane's mask. There was talk from commentary that this must be Kane. No, it must be The Undertaker. But it was definitely The Undertaker, because it's honestly not that hard to tell the difference between them when they aren't in a full-body red spandex suit to hide all of the tattoos and other identifying marks that mark one out. Plus, Kane's beefier than The Undertaker. The brawl went out into the crowd at just the right place where Taker could get thrown into the back of the hearse. But surprise, Taker was actually in the driver's seat. This was sold as some kind of weird spiritual happening. Never mind the fact that it's a fucking hearse and there's plenty of room for Undertaker to crawl up into the front seat while Austin was flipping off the crowd and yelling for a minute there. But we did get another one of those internet meme prairie dog looks out of The Undertaker whenever he was sitting there. Austin went to open the door, found that it was locked, and whenever the camera got close, we got the dun 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 look from The Undertaker through the glass. And that's it. That's where we faded to black. This was par for the course for this episode as far as I was concerned. It just didn't make any sense to me. Everything that they did here with Austin and The Undertaker, I understand what they were going for, that they wanted to clear the air and get to a confrontational relationship between Austin and The Undertaker ahead of SummerSlam so they could start to build tension with that. But the way they did it here, just like, what the fuck is the point of continuing this with the Kane mask? And like the whole hearse thing, like that was cool, but why did we need to save this until the very end? Why couldn't there have been a match? Why was this a confrontation and not just like a teaser? Give us a 2-minute match where some kind of shit happens. If you really want to do the cahoots angle, you can have Kane interfere. I don't fucking know. But none of it made any sense. But it did give the crowd a dose of Steve Austin. So there's that. But we just got this really ambiguous furtherance of cahoots and not much else out of it. Ryan, what do you think of the way that Raw ended tonight?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Like much of the other segments from tonight, it was a bit of a clusterfuck. Confusing as to where they were actually going with it. But one thing, I guess maybe we're like the King and JR and not agreement as to if this was Kane or The Undertaker. Because Bartlett, you said that you thought this was for sure The Undertaker.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure when they started heading into the crowd, there was a close-up shot of The Undertaker or Kane's shoulder, and these tattoos were running like cheap mascara. So I think they were drawn on Kane.
Okay.
So I guess in that aspect, they confused us. So yeah, I don't know. Was it Kane? Was it The Undertaker?
I totally missed that.
By the end, The Undertaker's driving away the hearse, and it was an anticlimactic ending as far as I was concerned. But I didn't hate this, but it definitely, with the people involved here, I feel like they could have done something much, much better.
Yeah, I agree. I'll go off of that because we're 2 weeks away from SummerSlam. This is the main event. I hope it's a good match. It's two Hall of Fame wrestlers, Steve Austin and Undertaker, but the storyline going into this is just not good. It's been dragged on and the cahoots bullshit. I did like this. It's Kane dressed as The Undertaker, cosplaying as The Undertaker, and they're fighting off into the crowd, and Kane got tossed into the hearse like the jobber that he is. And I thought that was appropriate.
Got his ass kicked here.
Yeah.
Really.
I thought that was appropriate because we all know that he is a jobber now.
The big red jobber, yeah.
Having Undertaker as the driver is, again, just more cahoots. What's going to happen next week with these guys? they want us to be interested. They want us to be interested and watch every week to see what's going to happen with this bullshit storyline.
Yeah, and I don't know what else to say about it. It's the same as it has been. Even though this is a new episode, this is a new way of approaching it. Interest level, the same. Overarching plot, the cahoots bullshit, it's the same. I don't know. The fact that it's not going anywhere, it's the same.
It's really quite shocking that for this amount of weeks, we've been talking so poorly about The Undertaker and Stone Cold fighting. Like, how bad could the writing be that we're here bitching about these two having a program with each other?
Yeah, completely agreed. All right, guys. Well, that's it. As I said, we faded to black. So let's take it on over to highlights and lowlights. Joe, why don't you take that first?
I have a couple highlights. First one is Gangrel's debut on Raw. I really like the Gangrel character. Even though this was nothing too memorable, it's kicking off what I think will be a really cool gimmick moving forward. And also the other highlight is just Bart Gunn. I think that he's a legitimate badass. They had a huge opportunity to do something with him that would have worked, but they went the complete opposite direction with it, which is disappointing. But Bart Gunn being a badass is my other highlight. And my low light is the fact that DOA still gets matches on Raw, and they win matches on Raw.
Yeah. So for me, my highlight is going to match up at least with one of yours, and it's the Raw debut of Gangrel. He's got a cool look, a badass entrance, and worked good here. I'm excited. So he's my highlight. My low light is just how often I had to use the word clusterfuck. It seemed like almost every segment was a clusterfuck, and it's just a damn shame because we have all of these great stars right now. We have some huge names that we're working with, but we're just shoehorning so many of them into the same storylines. We're losing focus here, and just the overall clusterfuck of tonight is my low light.
Yeah, I'm going to differ with both of you on both of mine here. My highlight, I thought this was hard because I didn't think there were that many candidates. I didn't think that Gangrel got enough time in his debut here to really be considered a highlight for me. Maybe if this had been the match that we got on Sunday Night Heat, if we had gotten treated to that instead of this 1 minute match, I might have gone with that. But I ended up going with the fact that the hard camera clearly showed the crowd sitting down and not giving a shit about the Val Venus match. I don't know why I loved that as much as I did, but there was this one like older couple, like middle-aged couple sitting there right at the rail, arms crossed, looking just miserable throughout the entire match. I thought that was very entertaining. For my low light, I thought there was a lot of options to pick from, but I had to go with the fact that despite being in many potentially dangerous situations, Michael Cole did not get tabletopped once in the entire episode, and that, I think, is the biggest tragedy of all.
Yeah, it is a shame.
Joseph, do you happen to have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around August 17th, 1998 for us?
I've got some big news in WCW. Somebody on August 17th, they made their return to wrestling or their debut in WCW. Any guesses?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Warrior Man.
Oh, Jesus. That's pretty short-lived, isn't it, in WCW?
Couple months, yeah.
So pretty short-lived.
Dave Meltzer says the return of Jim Hellwig to pro wrestling was everything it was cracked up to be. But guys, you got to listen to this. I have to point this out. So high ratings during this time was like in the 4s, right?
Yes.
Meltzer writes, Hellwig as Warrior in an under-publicized debut on August 17th in Hartford, Connecticut, due to a late court fight. So there wasn't much talk about him actually appearing on August 17th leading up to it because he's in a court fight over the name Warrior with WWF.
Well, because here he's just Warrior, not the Ultimate Warrior, right?
Right. But he obviously won this fight, and it was mentioned in the lawsuit that one of the things that helped him win was that he was the Dingo Warrior before he went to WWF and had the face paint. So Vince was trying to take the entire character, the name, the face paint, everything. But Jim Hellwig apparently won that case because he showed up on Nitro on August 17th as the Warrior, dressed up as the Warrior. But it drew a 6.41 rating.
Jesus.
During his nearly 18-minute monologue with Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff in the ring.
Oh, my God. I have to imagine that number was cut in a third by the end of that promo.
This is one of the 5 biggest head-to-head quarter hours in history and more than doubled the Raw audience of a 3.07 rating during this same quarter hour. So on Raw, we were seeing the Bart Gunn knockout of The Godfather and the Raw debut of Gangrel. And on Nitro was the Warrior's 18-minute monologue, which drew over double the rating. So the Warrior sucks, but he's still a draw, clearly.
In those 18 minutes, did it say how many times he said Hogan?
Yeah, I remember that and how horrible it was, and they actually went off the air while he was still talking. So yeah, the Warriors in WCW, that's big news. The Brawl for All, I have some updates on the injuries suffered from the Brawl for All matches.
Joe, we only have an hour that we can talk about.
The Godfather suffered a hairline fracture in his ankle when he got knocked the fuck out.
Here, I thought he didn't end up all crippled like Dr. Death.
No, not quite that level.
He wasn't in the hospital for a month like JR told us about.
I have some news on Dr. Death later, too, that you'll like.
Still in the hospital.
Draws also apparently suffered a torn bicep during his Brawl for All match tonight. Speaking of draws, Savio Vega fought Draws in a Brawl for All match last week. And if you remember, Jim Ross told us that Savio was coming off of a neck injury. Well, he re-injured his neck.
Oh, no.
And has bruised ribs and cracked cartilage in his sternum.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God, the carnage.
Yeah, that's the latest update on the carnage of the Brawl for All. The DOA match from tonight, that was all our highlight from tonight, the DOA versus Farouk and Scorpio match, was heavily edited for TV. So apparently that match was actually 8 minutes, but it was cut down to a little bit over 4 minutes for TV due to several missed spots. Another thing that was edited out of tonight's show was there was a fan who actually refused to lick the gross oatmeal off of Abu's feet. So they must have had a fan that was selected and didn't want to do it, and they edited that out of the show tonight.
You would have thought he looked at it and goes, oh, this is clearly just oatmeal.
Well, just wasn't hungry. Dr. Death Steve Williams, he went to his 20-year high school reunion last week and was in so much pain he had to leave after half an hour because he couldn't stand up for any length of time.
I was going to ask if he went there in a wheelchair. Jesus.
I thought you were going to say someone there knocked him out.
Quite possibly. Shane McMahon, we know that he is doing commentary on Sunday Night Heat. He is also overseeing the WWF.com website. So Shane O'Mac is gaining a bigger role in the company. And as we all know, Vince has another kid, Stephanie McMahon, around 22, 23 at this time. She is in a management training program and will be starting with the company soon.
Very nice.
Speaking of starting with the company soon, among those in training camp right now this week is 1996 Olympic freestyle wrestling gold medalist Kurt Angle.
Beautiful.
Nice.
And last piece of news here, the WWF wired another $2.13 million as part of its down payment for the Debbie Reynolds Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas.
Oh.
Dave Meltzer notes that the last several owners of that hotel have failed due to it being in a poor location located off the Strip in Vegas. So I've been so intrigued by this story of the hotel that I looked up a little bit more information. And apparently the WWF, they did purchase this Debbie Reynolds Hotel and Casino in 1998 for $10 million. And it just never happened. The casino, the WWF casino just never happened. They sold the building, and they actually sold the building for $11 million. So they made a profit on that deal. But there's actually a concept video on YouTube of the WWF casino, and I will say it's not really worth watching. There's nothing real exciting about it, but it was going to be a themed concept. The WWF planned a major overhaul of the building, including a large wrestling-themed logo on the outside of the building, an Armageddon-themed food court, Vince's Steakhouse, and various wrestling-related attractions. The hotel, obviously they sold it. It became a Clarion Hotel. And then another interesting piece is the property where this hotel was. The hotel is gone now. It's been demolished, but the property is now the stadium. The Raiders stadium is on that location now. So I think that was built around 2020, I want to say, probably about 5 years ago. So yeah, interesting information on this. There was almost a WWF hotel and casino in Las Vegas in 1998, 1999.
I'm sad that never happened because I would have really enjoyed going to the WWF Las Vegas casino. That would have been cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have been down for that. But at the same time, like whenever you say that, the Debbie Reynolds, like all I can think of is that scene in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas where he wakes up in the pool in the middle of the room and all he can hear is Debbie Reynolds singing as he comes out of this drug and alcohol haze. And there's a good chance if we would have wound up going to that back in the day, we would have been waking up the same way.
Yeah, I'm always interested in Vince's other business ventures, and especially the ones that are just total failures. This one actually ended up not being a failure because they made money off of it.
Yeah.
If they want to do Dark Side of the Ring episodes, they should do some episodes about this kind of shit. XFL, casino.
That was going to be my question next is, so at this point in August of 98, what else have they had so far? Ico Pro.
World Bodybuilding Federation.
Yeah, bodybuilding thing. What else? Didn't they have an actual NASCAR?
Yeah.
Sponsorship back then?
Yeah. Yep.
He didn't get to the XFL yet.
No, that's years away.
Casino now, apparently.
The XFL, of course, where Steelers star quarterback Tommy Machine Gun Maddox came from.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Make sure and let us know if you get any more updates on that. That is an interesting story, the casino.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all I had this week.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW at gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most gubernatorial. It's the only thing I can come up with that could relate to a president. Monday Night Raw Review Podcast on the airwaves. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on August 24th, 1998, with matches featuring the Kurgan, Southern Justice. Yes, folks, you heard that right. We will actually get them in a match.
Wow.
As well as many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.